The global energy crisis continues to send shockwaves through the world economy, with South America as the fastest emerging continent in protest. From soaring fuel prices to rising food costs, from power shortages to growing economic anger, the continent is witnessing a wave of anger on the streets that is now testing governments across multiple countries. The protest began as frustration over the cost of living and now has spiraled into a much broader political and economic crisis. Millions are now questioning their governments over inflation, austerity, unemployment, public spending cuts, and broken economic promises, with the global energy turmoil only adding fuel to the fire. Bolivia is the country which is the current epicenter of the street rage. Hundreds of protesters marched towards La Paz as the country continues to grapple with the deepening economic crisis. What started as strikes has now turned into a wider national movement involving labor unions, miners, transport workers, and rural groups. Have blocked key roads, demanding wage hikes, economic stability, an end to privatization, and even the resignation of the president. The protests have paralyzed transport routes and exposed the growing public anger over the government's austerity policies.
We are calling for the lifting of the blockades at once, please. That is what we're calling for as mothers. We don't know what food to give our children. The pot is empty. We have nothing. We are dying of hunger here in La Paz. We have been kidnapped.
But Bolivia is far from alone. In Cuba, the energy crisis has taken a more direct form. Citizens in Havana have taken to the streets as the island struggles with worsening power outages after the government admitted that oil reserves had run dry. For many Cubans, daily life has become increasingly difficult, with blackouts, shortages, and economic hardship driving public frustration. Meanwhile, in Argentina, anger is growing over sharp public spending cuts. Tens of thousands of health workers marched through Buenos Aires. They accused President Javier Milei's government of cutting public health funding under its aggressive austerity drive. Now, these protests are part of a broader pushback against economic reforms aimed at cutting the fiscal deficit. Well, these reforms that many Argentines say are coming at the cost of basic public services.
Demand has increased enormously because there are people who have lost their social coverage, because they have lost their job, or because they have entered an informal work situation, and these people turn to public health. And many people who still have the possibility or the luck of having social coverage do not have money to pay 10,000, 8,000, 5,000 pesos in co-payments, and these people turn to public health.
Further north in Ecuador, union members, students, teachers, and indigenous groups have also filled the streets of Quito. They are opposing to economic policies they say are hurting workers and weakening social protections. In Venezuela, the crisis has taken on a more political edge. University students and activists have staged protests against political imprisonments, with clashes erupting between demonstrators and security forces in the capital. And in Chile, thousands of students have marched through Santiago against education cuts and rising living costs. Demonstrations turned tense as police used water cannons and tear gas to disperse crowds near the presidential palace. As the global energy crisis continues to disrupt economies, push up prices and strain governments, the streets of South America are rapidly becoming the front line of a much larger battle over economic survival, governance and public trust.